Three cars, three superchargers, three very different answers to the same question. What is the ultimate American muscle machine? We're not here to debate horsepower numbers on paper. We're not here to read spec sheets. We brought the Chevy Camaro ZL1 with the 1LE track package, the Dodge Challenger Hellcat in full red-eye wide-body spec, and the Ford Mustang Shelby GT500 with the carbon fiber track package. And we're going to settle this the old-fashioned way. A drag race. No excuses, no asterisks, just asphalt, launch control, and the truth. Let's go. These are not ordinary muscle cars. These are the apex predators of their respective bloodlines, the most powerful, most capable versions their manufacturers have ever built, and they've never been more ready for a fight. The Chevy Camaro ZL1 with the 1LE track package, the lightweight, aerodynamically aggressive track weapon from Bowling Green, the one that was never really supposed to be a drag car but showed up anyway and brought receipts. The Dodge Challenger Hellcat, red-eye wide-body, 797 horsepower of pure, unapologetic American excess. Wide, heavy, loud, and absolutely proud of all of it. And the Ford Mustang Shelby GT500 with the carbon fiber track package, the most powerful street-legal Ford ever built. A car that wears a wing like a crown and drives like it knows it. Now here's the twist. They're all automatics. Yes, even the GT500, although Ford will insist you call it a dual clutch. And we're all using launch control because we want this to be fair. We want data, not driver ego. Well, mostly. Nobody here hates winning. The conditions? Cold. Around 43 degrees on the dash. Asphalt that hasn't seen any prep work. Tires that are about as warm as a refrigerator shelf. Which means this is going to be interesting from the very first launch. Start with the Camaro, because the ZL1 with the 1LE package doesn't just look aggressive, it looks like it was designed by someone who was genuinely angry. The front splitter sits so low it practically scrapes the ground on the way to the drag strip. The hood is vented and purposeful. This isn't a styling exercise, that's actual heat management for the supercharged 6.2-liter LT4 living underneath. The body is tight, compact, and muscular. No wasted surfaces anywhere. And then you get to the wing. A massive adjustable rear wing that means business. This isn't a spoiler. This is downforce. Real, measurable, corner-flattening downforce. The ZL1 is the smallest car here, the lightest, and it looks it in the best possible way. It's coiled, tense, like it's waiting to be let off the leash. The Camaro doesn't beg for your attention. It just stares at you until you come over. And then there's the Challenger, the wide body. If the Camaro is a coiled spring, the Challenger is a freight train. This thing is wide. The flared fenders push out dramatically on both sides to accommodate massive 305-section tires, and the effect is absolutely commanding. You don't need to know anything about horsepower or quarter-mile times. Just looking at the wide body communicates power. The hood scoop is real. Cold air flows directly into that supercharger under there. The front fascia is bold and upright, a design language that goes back decades and somehow still feels relevant, still feels tough. There's a reason people buy Challengers just to park in driveways and stare at them. And the size of this thing, it's enormous. Long hood, long body, wide stance. It occupies space with authority. The Dodge Challenger is old-school muscle car design done right, and the wide body takes everything that was already great about the look and turns it up about 4 notches. And then, the Shelby GT500. There's something about this car that just looks correct. Like someone handed a designer an unlimited budget and said, "Build us a proper supercar in a Mustang body." And they actually did it. The carbon fiber track package adds a gurney flap on the rear wing that is genuinely functional. Carbon fiber everywhere. The front splitter, the dive planes, the rear diffuser. This isn't cosmetic carbon. This is weight reduction and aerodynamics working in harmony. The GT500's face is wide and low. The hood is muscular and sculpted with real vents. The flanks are clean but purposeful. No unnecessary styling lines cluttering the message. And from the rear, with that wing, those quad exhaust tips, and the diffuser, it looks like it just came off a racetrack. Of the three cars here, the GT500 has the most premium, most polished presence. It feels like the most evolved of the bunch, which, spoiler, might matter before this day is over. Let's talk about what it's like to actually sit in these things. Because muscle cars have come a long way from vinyl bench seats and an AM radio. In the Camaro ZL1, you're in a driver-focused cockpit. The seating position is low, which is both good and bad. Great for feel and dynamics, slightly less great for visibility out the front. The seats are supportive and bolstered, clearly designed for someone who plans on going fast and turning. The interior isn't opulent, but it's well made and purposeful. The performance data display in the gauge cluster is genuinely excellent. You can monitor everything from tire pressure to G-forces. And with the 1LE package, this car feels less like a street machine you happen to track and more like a track car you happen to drive to the track. One genuine weakness: the visibility. The Camaro has notoriously chunky pillars that make seeing out in any direction a bit of an adventure. You learn to live with it, but you do notice it. Step into the Challenger and the experience is completely different. This is a big cabin, wide, airy, comfortable. There's real room in here for actual humans, including in the back seat, which is more than you can say for the Camaro. The Uconnect infotainment system is one of the best in the business. Big screen, responsive, intuitive. Dodge has done a great job here. The performance pages let you monitor all kinds of data, and the launch control setup is particularly notable because it's adjustable. This isn't just a fixed RPM launch. You can dial in your launch RPM based on conditions. On a treated surface on a warm day, you'd set this much higher and launch at full throttle. Today, in the cold, with untreated asphalt, the RPM is set conservatively. Smart. The car is smarter than it looks. The interior materials are solid and well assembled. It feels substantial. It feels American, like sitting in a leather recliner that happens to make 797 horsepower, and then the GT500. This is where Ford has done something genuinely impressive. The GT500's interior feels like the most refined of the three. The Recaro seats are exceptional, firm enough to hold you in place during hard cornering, comfortable enough for a road trip. The steering wheel is flat-bottomed and perfectly sized, wrapped in leather and carbon fiber. The dashboard layout is clean and logical. The dual-clutch transmission's controls are crisp and well-placed. The launch control system in this car is notable for one very specific and slightly maddening reason. There's a deliberate 1-second delay from the moment you release the brake to when the car actually moves. It's there, it's real, and it requires you to adjust your launch timing accordingly. Ford put it there intentionally. And yes, someone in this video has a theory about why that involves Instagram videos. Make of that what you will. Of the three interiors, the GT500 feels the most like a machine that was built with intention at every single point. Nothing feels accidental. Let's talk about what's under these hoods, because before we race, you need to understand what we're working with. The Camaro ZL1 runs a supercharged 6.2-liter LT4 V8, making 650 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. It's the lightest car here, and with the 1LE's massive Goodyear Eagle F1 supercar tires, it should, in theory, have tremendous mechanical grip. Should, in theory. The Dodge Challenger Hellcat Red-Eye widebody steps up to 797 horsepower and 707 pound-feet of torque from a supercharged 6.2-liter Hellcat V8. It is also, by a significant margin, the heaviest car here. We're talking about a serious weight penalty that 797 horsepower has to fight against. And the Ford Mustang Shelby GT500, 760 horsepower and 625 pound-feet of torque from a supercharged 5.2-liter Predator V8 mated to a 7-speed Tremec dual-clutch transmission. Technically the second most powerful car here, but paired with the most sophisticated transmission of the three. The conditions today are not ideal. It's cold, well below 40 degrees. The asphalt is completely untreated. And this creates a very specific problem for all three cars, but especially for the Camaro. Those 1LE tires, they're heat cycle compounds. They need temperature to generate grip. On a warm track day, they are extraordinary. Today, they are basically very expensive ice skates. The Hellcat wide-body's enormous tires need heat too. 797 horsepower on cold rubber on cold pavement is not a recipe for clean launches. And the GT500, same story. Too much power, not enough grip, and a 1-second delay in the launch control that you have to mentally account for every single run. First run, launch control set, brake pressed, throttle in, go. And it went about as well as anyone expected on cold tires and cold asphalt. Nobody got a clean launch. All three cars spun, squirmed, and searched for grip that simply wasn't there. The Camaro hooked the worst off the line. Those temperature-sensitive tires just had nothing to give in the cold. The Hellcat, despite all 797 of its horses, couldn't put the power down cleanly either. And the GT500, even with that 1-second delay, found enough grip to edge ahead and stay ahead. We ran it again, and again. We did the hard, thankless work of trying to heat up tires on cold asphalt, which is essentially trying to warm up a pizza box by blowing on it. But we kept going, and every single time, the result was the same. The Mustang GT500 won every single run, not narrowly either. Once it got moving, it just pulled. The dual-clutch transmission shifted with a brutality that the torque converter automatics in the Camaro and Challenger simply couldn't match. The GT500 was gone by the time the other two sorted out their traction issues. And here's the thing, this isn't a fluke. This replicates exactly what we saw in controlled testing at our private track. The order is consistent, GT500 first, Camaro second, Challenger third. Alright, so let's break down what actually happened out there today, starting with the Challenger. The Hellcat is genuinely exciting to drive fast. That supercharger whine is addictive. It sounds like the future and the past simultaneously. And when it hooks up and shifts hard, it hits. You feel it in your chest. But 797 horsepower in the heaviest car of the three means physics is working against you. You have the most power but the most weight to move. And while the launch control is adjustable and smart, the tires just couldn't transfer that power to the ground effectively today. Around the time it shifted into third, instead of continuing to pull, the rear end would step out and the car would be searching for grip again. And by then, the GT500 was already gone. Now, on to the Camaro. The Camaro's story is almost the exact opposite. Least power, least weight, most tire. But only when that tire is warm. Today it wasn't. Getting out of the hole cleanly in first gear was the consistent challenge. Launch control engaged fine. Timing was readable. But the actual forward momentum was hesitant. Once the car hooked up, it moved well. But the GT500 was already building a lead that the ZL1 couldn't close. In warmer conditions, on a prepped surface with properly temped tires, this race might look very different. The ZL1 is the car most compromised by today's conditions. And the Mustang? The dual-clutch transmission is the difference maker. It's not sentimental about gear changes. It doesn't ease into things. It puts the power down with a precision and consistency that a traditional automatic torque converter simply cannot replicate at this level. Yes, there's that maddening 1-second delay at launch, and you have to learn to work with it, not against it. But once it moves, it is relentless. The GT500 has the right combination, enough power, the right weight, and the transmission technology to actually use that power effectively. It's not the heaviest, it's not the lightest, but it's the most complete drag racing package of the three. Let's put these three head-to-head and break down the pros and cons, just so you really get a sense of what each brings to the table. Starting with the Chevy Camaro ZL1, 1LE, the pros. It's the lightest car in the comparison, which is a genuine advantage in the right conditions. It's got the best chassis and handling of the three. This is the real track weapon, most aerodynamically developed with the 1LE package. And honestly, that supercharged LT4 sounds absolutely savage at full throttle. Now the cons. Tires are extremely temperature sensitive. Cold weather just kills performance. Worst visibility of the three. Those pillars are genuinely intrusive, least horsepower of the group, and the interior feels the most utilitarian compared to the other two. Next up, Dodge Challenger Hellcat Red-Eye Widebody. Pros. Most horsepower at 797. The headline number is real. Most comfortable and spacious interior of the three, actually usable daily. Best infotainment system. Uconnect is excellent. Adjustable launch control, RPM, genuinely clever engineering. And that supercharger whine is the best sound of the group. Cons. Heaviest car here, physics punishes excess weight every time. Despite the most power, finishes last, the weight wins. Traction management is a constant challenge with this much power. Transmission isn't quite as sharp as the GT500's dual clutch. Finally, Ford Mustang Shelby GT500. Carbon fiber track package. Pros. Wins the drag race. Consistently, repeatedly, undeniably. Dual clutch transmission is a game changer for straight-line performance. Most refined and premium interior of the three. Carbon fiber track package delivers real aerodynamic function, not just looks. Best balance of power, weight, and technology. Cons. That 1-second launch control delay is genuinely frustrating until you learn it. Second most expensive car here. Not as loud and dramatic as the Hellcat. Less theater, more results. Dual clutch can feel abrupt at low speeds and daily driving. Here's the honest truth about these three cars. They're all extraordinary. But they're extraordinary for completely different reasons, and they're for completely different people. The Camaro ZL1 with the 1LE is for the driver who cares most about what happens when the road starts to curve. This is a track day weapon dressed in street clothes. If you're the kind of person who has a helmet in their trunk and knows what corner weight means, this is your car. On the right surface, on a warm day, with properly temped tires, it will embarrass cars that cost twice as much. It just needs the conditions to cooperate. The Dodge Challenger Hellcat Red-Eye Widebody is for the person who wants to make a statement every single time they pull into a parking lot. It's for the buyer who wants 797 horsepower and a back seat and a trunk and a car comfortable enough to drive across the country. The Challenger is muscle car maximalism at its finest. It doesn't care that it finished third today. It's having too much fun to care. The Ford Mustang Shelby GT500 is for the person who wants it all. Track performance, road manners, a refined interior, and a drag strip result that backs up everything the spec sheet promises. It's the most complete performance package of the three. If you want one car that does everything at the highest level, and you want it to win, this is the one. 3 cars, 3 legends, 1 winner. But here's what I want you to take away from today. On paper, the Hellcat has the most horsepower. In the real world, in the cold, on untreated asphalt, horsepower isn't the whole story. The GT500 wins not because it's the most powerful car here, but because it has the most complete package. The right transmission, the right weight, the right technology working together. The Camaro is the car most hurt by today's conditions. Put it on a warm track with temped tires and the conversation changes completely. And the Challenger? It's the most lovable loser in drag racing history. That thing is fun even when it's getting beaten. Maybe especially when it's getting beaten. The result today is clear. The Mustang Shelby GT500 wins this drag race battle. Consistently, convincingly. The snake takes the pony car crown, at least in a straight line. And now I want to hear from you. Do you think this result holds up on a prepped drag strip with drag radials? Would you put your money on the Hellcat with sticky tires and warm asphalt? Or is the GT500 just the best of this generation of American muscle? Full stop? Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to know where you stand. If this video got your pulse up even a little, do me a solid and hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds and it helps us make more content exactly like this. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? We've got more comparisons coming, more races, more real-world testing. You don't want to miss what's next. Thanks for watching. Stay fast.